Breaking news on Martyn Lucas Investor. We have just got a request to look at Skechers, ticker symbol SKX. So I'm going to give you a full analysis on this stock, my specific buy zones and sell zones, the resistance and the support levels, and how I think this stock is going to trade over the coming months, weeks, and actually years as well. So stay tuned to watch the full analysis. Remember, anything I say during this video, it should not be taken as financial advice. I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm just here to give my personal thoughts and teach you about charts. So Skechers is currently sat at $62. We've looked at this previously and we have said the trend is to the upside. If you look at this specific trend line here, we're looking at the weekly candles right now. If you're confused why we're looking at price of 32, is because we're looking all the way back to October of 2022, and we had this established trend line to the upside. The trend is your friend, remember, and this trend line was just signifying it's a way to visualize the trend is your friend. And what I mean by that is, if the trend is to the upside, that's your friend, meaning the trend should continue to the upside until it changes. And that's why I've got this green trend line creating higher lows, just showing you that the trend is continuing to the upside. These higher lows represents more people owning the stock, more people willing to hold it for higher prices and not willing to sell. And this trend line has continued to hold. We had one touch point here, we had this horizontal green line here, and then we've got another touch point more recently as of October this year. And the trend is still to the upside. So all we can say right now for the long-term trend of the stock is continuing to the upside until we do see a break of trend. For example, if this trend line starts breaking to the downside, then I can comfortably say this stock is going to come back to previous all-time high levels, key level of support. It's not the end of the day if this upwards trend line breaks, because we have a major level of horizontal support, not diagonal support, but horizontal support at $54. That $54 level will be a nice buy zone if we do break this upwards trend, and if we hold that, then the main momentum of the upwards trend is still intact. We might have broken the first trend line, but there is another trend line to help with the support, and that will be a buy level of $54. So that's my next buy level for the stock, is at $54. If we do in fact break that level, then there is lower targets, for example $45, but I would be very careful if we break those two major trend lines. So one is this diagonal trend line to the upside, which was still above, which we have tested, and one would be this horizontal level at $54 as another potential limit order to set up a buy. Looking at all-time highs, we did actually go as high as $75, so that is a target to the upside. That will be somewhere you might consider taking profits in the terms of a charting areas. If you look at a lot of traders will look at previous all-time highs or might take their profits slightly below. So that would be a target of $75, $74 as a take profit zone. So that's something to take into account as a level of potentially exiting this position. And then we can also look at further levels to the upside depending on your time horizon. One could be taking a Fibonacci from the recent all-time highs in June of 2024 and the recent lows of August the 5th. And that gives us a take profit zone of around $86. So we've got two take profit zones to the upside. We've got two buy levels to the downside as well, and that should give us a good indication of where this stock should be going in the months ahead. Whichever way it goes, we've got particular trades either taking profits or buying some more. The trend right now is showing upside, so we might have those sell levels before we get further buying zones, but we have to keep a good eye on these trend lines. If this trend line stays intact, we don't break it, then we're off to all-time highs and potentially breaking all-time highs and heading to $86. If this trend line breaks to the downside, we're looking at buy zones at $54 and $45. Looking at the RSI on the weekly, we are slightly in the bearish control zone, which just gives the edge to the bears just purely looking at the RSI. However, because it's so low, it does allow plenty of room to the upside before we do actually become overbought. Currently we're not overbought, we're not oversold, but below 50 we're sort of in the bearish control zone, so that is something to take into account as well. The MACD on the weekly is red, the momentum slightly to the downside. This is on the more of a long-term trend. We can move over to the one-day chart, which gives us A bit more of what's going to happen in the short term. The short term RSI is also in the bearish control zone. However, the MACD is showing us the momentum could be shifting to the upside. So we do have conflicting information from the indicators. The best thing to go off on this specific stock is the chart, and the chart specifically is a bit above support, is holding trend. We have a slight downwards trend going on right now, more of the short term. Since we hit those all-time highs, we're struggling to break out. And if we don't break out of this blue line I've just drawn for you, then something like this could occur. I can show you exactly what I mean. We've got a blue trend line showing lower highs on the shorter term. If we do, we might have something like this occurring, and then once we either break out of this green trend line, we might drop down to our buy zones at $54. However, if we break out of this blue trend line, then we're off to our all-time highs at our first sell level at $75, and then we can react how we do there, and we can even move to $86, or $75 might cause some reaction, lots of people taking profits, and then we can see what the next structure is. That's why $75 is also a take profit zone. But yes, we do have this blue trend line, diagonal trend line to the downside as well on the shorter time frame on the 1-day chart, which we need to keep an eye out for, and that will tell us, are we going to $75 first, or are we at breaking trend and coming to $54 for those who are trading on the shorter term. But those two major levels, horizontal levels at $75 and $55 are the key levels we're looking at for Skechers. So yeah, that is a full analysis on the Skechers stock regarding the charts. Let me know if you have any further questions in the comment section down below. Join me every Sunday where we will be doing stock analysis like this. We'll also be looking at crypto. We're looking at the major bull run that seems to be occurring on all equities at the moment. And you can ask your own suggestions, and we can do something like this for your own personal favorite stock. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.